Well, Paul Cook had been linked with Ipswich for a number of weeks and obviously linked with a number of clubs as well. So it wasn't a huge surprise when he turned up at Portman Road. But one appointment that maybe did catch us out bright and early on Monday morning was Darren Moore, who swapped Doncaster for Sheffield Wednesday. He'd been linked with the job before, so it wasn't completely out the blue. But with the caretaker manager doing a decent job at Hillsborough and Darren Moore on track seemingly for a top 6 finish at the Keep Moat, perhaps this took a few people by surprise, Mike. But were you shocked by this one?
No, not particularly. Mainly because, I mean, reading the underlying performance data, I think things were starting to get a bit difficult at Doncaster. I think losing Ben Whiteman in the January transfer window kind of hit their promotion bid a little bit, and the underlying numbers weren't particularly good. So Moore finished on a run of about 4 defeats in 5 matches, somewhat along those lines. And the data had kind of been predicting it in advance. So I think you see a potentially faltering promotion bid and a big opportunity to step up into the Championship and a shot to nothing to keep a club the size of Sheffield Wednesday in the division. No, it didn't particularly surprise me on that level.
Is there any sort of link between the Doncaster tail-off and the fact that their manager now has a new job? Now, obviously, you know, players might not have been aware of the full situation, but do you think players could potentially tell that Moore's heart maybe wasn't completely in it at that point? Could that be a reason for the sudden downturn in results, do you think?
No, I probably wouldn't say so, because I don't think Moore's head is inclined to be elsewhere other than that the job in hand is very much in the moment in the way he goes about his business. You know, He's one that even in post-match press conferences, you start talking about the next game too quickly, and he's like, "Well, you know, we're still on this game," kind of thing. He's very, very much in the moment, and I think it's an attribute that could actually quite help Sheffield Wednesday in the position that they're in. So I don't think he would have given much time to such speculation. You know, I don't think he's a sort of manager that these conversations will have been happening through the back channels too much beforehand. I think once it starts happening, he's either going to commit to it or he's not. And, you know, I don't think it's something that would linger on for weeks and weeks before he actually decides he's going. I might be wrong, but that's the impression that I imagine, is that, you know, once he makes his mind up, then there's absolutely no turning back in it. And that's when it all happens and it all goes through very quickly. But no, I don't think necessarily it's had an impact. I think Ben Whiteman's departure had a real impact on the way that Doncaster were playing. I think that, you know, they'd had a few results where they potentially got a little bit more than they bargained for, and I think regression was naturally going to bite them, and it did. You know, they're on a fantastic run, but it's beginning to feel a little bit unsustainable. And then when the results kick in, you add it all together, it kind of seems inevitable in the end. But I don't think there's a link between the bad run of form coming with anything to do with the Sheffield Wednesday job being, you know, vacant.
And Andy Butler in temporary charge at the Keep Moat as well. Doncaster with a good result at the weekend, beating Plymouth by 2-1. Let's turn to where Darren Moore is now, Mike, and he's got a huge job on his hands. As you say, he's on a bit of a shot to nothing with keeping Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship. If he does, he'll be carried around the streets of the city, I would imagine shoulder high and lauded as a hero. But if he doesn't, well, at least he knows League One, I suppose, is one thing you could say. And he will have the chance to build. Now, it's been a bit strange with the ownership as well in recent years. There's speculation about how much money is being put back in. But fundamentally here, they've got a decent manager, a good coach as well, a really good coach in charge. And for all the departures recently, Mike, at Sheffield Wednesday, they still have some really good players in that squad. So maybe now they do need a coach who's going to be on the training ground, because that is what Darren Moore specialises in, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is a good appointment on several levels, given that Sheffield Wednesday have not got the clout to go and get a big name right now. I think, like you say, they've got a manager that's ready for League One. I think he was building a team that was virtually ready for promotion, you know, notwithstanding the departure of Whiteman in January. I think, you know, it was very, you know, it was very similar to the model of Mark Robbins at Coventry. The first season getting a process in place, Then the second season, it all comes to fruition, and then looking like the real deal for promotion. And the similarities between the way Coventry go about the business and the way Doncaster have been going about their business are there. And I think, this Moore can replicate that template again in League One. Might need 2 seasons to get out of the division, but I think he would be, a ready-made fit for that level if Wednesday do go down. I also think his personality type, though, is also good in a crisis, because I'm saying he's not in the moment. We've seen it already. 2 real disappointments in his first 2 matches. Yeah, I bet just listening to his first 2 interviews, the mood on the training ground will be nobody will be down in the dumps this week. He got a full week on the training ground, which is going to be helpful because he is very much a training ground manager, as you say. And, I just think he's capable of lifting the mood off the back of any disappointment. It's literally nobody's thinking too far ahead, nobody's dwelling too far behind, and I think he's very good at forming connections with players. I think players genuinely, he's often described as a gentle giant, one of the nicest blokes you'll find in the game, and I think players will immediately get the sense of, like, he really cares about me. He really cares about what I want and how I want to play, and what my attributes are as a player. And I think he'll establish these bonds very, very quickly with players, and it'll make them feel good about themselves and want to express themselves. And he'll just make the day-to-day experience on the training ground fun and enjoyable, and a real kind of learning and development environment. Even if there's a lot of senior pros there, it will just almost go back to playing football for the sheer enjoyment of playing football and feeling privileged to be able to do this as a job. And that will be the day-to-day kind of culture that he will foster. And if they can take that into games, they've got half a chance. And I think it's not too far removed from what Neil Thompson was doing. I think a lot of these Sheffield Wednesday players possibly didn't like the methods of Gary Monk. Well, we know some of them didn't like the methods of Gary Monk, but also Tony Pulis. I think these were very rigid sort of drill sergeant type training ground managers, very much about instructions. And I think Moore might be slightly softer touch, more compassion about, individual expression, and players might get to enjoy themselves a little bit more in that and just feel a little bit more liberated.
To be obviously a successful manager, as he has been so far in the limited amount of time that he's been a number one, and obviously to be a hugely inspirational defender as well, as he was for so many years. Though he must have a slightly rugged edge, though, even though he is reportedly a lovely bloke and no one really has a bad word to say against him.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I just think he's just genuinely a nice guy, and I think and they say that nice guys don't succeed or anything like. I think you look at what he's done at Doncaster so far, and I think he's got a lot of goodwill in the game. I think some of the loan signings he got is through very good contact network. I think he's respected, not just in the Midlands, in London. He's bringing players from Arsenal and Wolves. He's a West Brom man, and he's bringing really good players in from Wolves on loan and stuff like that. And I just think there's a lot of people in the game got a lot of time for him, and they know that he's a coach and a manager that wants to work with talent, wants to develop talent. And I think that's an area that has been a big feature in his managerial career to date, is that he's done good recruitment, and it's been good recruitment through having good contacts and through an appreciation of the fact that he's always got an individual player's best interests at heart and wants to bring out the very best. He enthuses about a player's technical ability. When you see him come to life in an interview, it's normally about the way a player gets the ball out of his feet, the way he does this, the way he does that. And it's usually about little individual skills, that the attributes that they've got to do with the technical ability. You just get the impression he really enthuses about that side and wants to bring it out and thinks, right, how can we bring this out on the pitch? Let's have you showing us this on the training ground every day. But my objective as a manager is to make sure that we see all of your individual little technical brilliances. We bring it out onto the pitch on a Saturday.
Yeah, and interesting that you say about all the goodwill in the game. When he was appointed, I checked very quickly the reaction on social media. So many West Brom fans wishing him well and saying, the legend at the club, Even some Doncaster fans as well, actually wishing him well as well. So clearly very well liked, as you say, good contacts as well. Sheffield Wednesday have had to rely in recent years on bringing younger players through, and Liam Shaw's off in the summer, but there's still plenty of younger players with potential in that squad. And I guess, as you say, he's going to be able to bring the best out of them. And even if Sheffield Wednesday fans are upset at the fact that they may well find themselves in League One next season, it does almost feel a bit exciting, doesn't it, for the future with Darren Moore in charge?
Yeah, I think so, because I think the style of football and the brand of football he plays, like I say, it's very much about what we do with the ball and, you know, controlling games through possession and having lots of the ball and just, you know, players enjoying the experience of having plenty of the ball. You know, I think that's what I'm trying to think where we've used this, you know, comparison before, but players enjoy playing for Darren Moore because they spend more time on the ball and they get to do what it is that they're good at. He sees it as his challenge to enable them to bring out their natural skill sets. So I think when you see, you know, if you can see 5 or 6 players at any one time, all on top of their individual game, playing in a system that, you know, it's about keeping the ball off the opposition and having more time with the ball and more territory, then I think that's exciting for most fans. And I think Darren Moore's the type of manager that if you're not winning games, not necessarily going on long runs of not winning games, I don't think Sheffield Wednesday fans in League One would tolerate that too much. But I think there's a capacity to only draw games that you should win potentially, but go away thinking, we played well today. We enjoyed that. That was a decent performance. And I think there's more scope for that in a Darren Moore team than most other managers, where you're quick to find fault with everything when you see a draw because, you know, you're quickly looking for what wasn't right. Whereas there's been moments within games where you think, oh, that was good. That was a nice bit of skill. And you kind of go away thinking that wasn't a bad performance, even though we didn't win.
At West Brom, he obviously had already plenty of goodwill in the bank from his playing days. At Doncaster, he was kind of under no huge pressure. The fan base at Sheffield Wednesday is a little more expectant. How is he likely to deal with any pressure that might come his way?
I think he'll deal with it fine. It's important to say that he's never had to deal with this level of pressure that he's going to be meeting with now. That's for sure. I think that, well, I mean, the West Brom job, you know, like you say, he had a lot of goodwill in the bank in advance. I also think that job was too much too soon. But at the same time, he probably hit about par. He probably should have been looking at automatic with, you know, just coming down from the Premier League, the resources he had and stuff like that. That the expectation is automatic. But he probably hit about par with a playoff campaign, even though he never got to finish the season. And then at Doncaster, you know, like you say, expectations aren't particularly high. And I think he's kind of hitting par all the way. And that's kind of been the Doncaster job was a better fit. I think it was more an acceptable level for a first-time manager, even though it's his second job. You know, that's kind of the level you pitch in a first-time manager. So given that Wednesday are possibly on the way out of the Championship and relegation would be accepted, the position he's walked into, I don't think that the expectations are going to be too high necessarily straight away. And he's never had to deal with this before. But I do think his personality type, I think he's high stakes. He's happy with high stakes. I don't think it phases him one bit. I think he can take anything on his shoulders on a mental level, because I don't think he's a manager that goes into his own mind too much and worries about things. So on that level, I don't think big expectations from the outside will make him manage any differently. I think that's you know, whether he's good enough or not will be a question that gets answered in the fullness of time. But I don't think the weight of expectation will ever change his managerial style or alter how well or badly he does the job. I think he'll just still be Darren Moore.
In terms of his style, he is a man who is happy to delegate. He's a man who's happy to get everyone's opinion on matters as well. We see managers who have total control and do not let anyone have their say or even change their minds. But Darren Moore, in that way, seems quite malleable. He seems to be able to bring everyone together and say, what do you think of this? How do you think we should approach this situation? He's very much sort of in touch with everyone around him, and everyone's able to pitch in, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's like we say about the players and wanting to enjoy their day-to-day experience. I think it's very much the same for the backroom staff. It's fair, you know, he wants the whole day-to-day experience to be thoroughly rewarding for everybody. And that means kind of having an open table when it comes to setting up for a match. I think it's not, I'm going to do it this way. I've already got my mind made up about the way that we're going to play this weekend. I think it just opens up the debate for, okay, here's the next opposition. Let's all sit around the table together and decide how we're going to attack this one. And, it's not even necessarily like his say is the final say. It's very much an open process that we talk through between us and then decide how we're going to, he has certain principles about the way he wants the game to be played, which is generally involves having plenty of the ball and the players, enjoying the experience on a match day themselves. So those kind of things are non-negotiables. But when it comes to whether you're playing 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, or however it is for any given opposition, I think the backroom staff have a lot to say in the match preparation and the game by game and pre-game analysis and that side of things.
Yeah, interesting approach, isn't it? And I think it sounds like it's a fairly novel approach as well, particularly at this level. Finally, Mike, how do you think Darren Moore will do? Because there's no new manager bounce yet, but it's still very, very early days. We've talked about how he will fare if Wednesday drop into League One, but do you see this marriage between Sheffield Wednesday and Darren Moore being a long and happy one?
I think that possibly depends a lot on what happens at ownership level as much as anything. I think if he's given a level playing field to go about the job, if he gets to do the job on equal terms to other managers that have, I think it's a tall order for Sheffield Wednesday to stay in the Championship now. So I think he could be forgiven for relegation because it's not really in his hands. I think between now and the end of the season, we might get to see some surprisingly enterprising football for a team that's meant to be under pressure and meant to be going down. And I think we could see some surprises along the way. But let's assume, given the starting position, that Wednesday do go down, then I think we can get well into next season. It depends because there has to be some level of results. I think Sheffield Wednesday nowhere near the top 6 is not acceptable in League One. So then a bit of pressure is going to come along. But I think he can get a handle on the job quite quickly. He did at Doncaster. It didn't take him long. He can do good recruitment in the loan market, for example. There'll be plenty of Premier League clubs thinking, playing under pressure at Sheffield Wednesday for an expansive team. That's the type of club I'd send a decent loan signing to, Premier League development players. So, yeah, I think it could be interesting next season what happens at Sheffield Wednesday. I don't think they should go all out and expect all out promotion in his first season, but I think they should be top half and enjoying the product that he's putting on the pitch from week to week. So, on assuming that's the level playing field, that we accept a relegation is probably going to happen. We assume it's the same ownership and that, they're not going to just get to splash loads of cash and demand automatic promotion at the first time of asking and those kinds of things. Then I think we can, we could be getting deep into next season and thinking Sheffield Wednesday aren't a bad side under Darren Moore.
We'll be following their progress closely for the rest of this season, of course, next season as well under Darren Moore. And if you want to use manager profiling to your benefit with betting, Mike, there's a case study that can certainly point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I've been using manager profiling for a while now, a good few months, because I was getting frustrated, really, how difficult it was to turn a profit, just measuring team strength, using ratings, data science, that side of things. And then it was only when I started to kind of fuse in the manager profiling, I began to see a real turnaround in my results. So it's been really interesting, really enjoyable. And, we're getting on for 7-8 months now that I've been turning a consistent profit. So I've kind of put it all into a case study video and explaining what manager profiling is, how we go about it, and kind of what's made it successful. So, it's just all available in a free case study video. So just on the link below, click on it and opt in to see the video.